Here's a game that's very instructive of getting the knights onto unusual squares to fox the opponent. Class A player, and I'm a Class B player really. So they should beat me easily. And they're coming out with this very violent bishop opening. So I do a nice defensive chain of pawns there, and then they commit their bishop to remaining in the front of the battlefield. So I bring out a knight, not the one that's going to directly attack it, but just bringing it out to make space really, and then he prevents my knight advancing with this move, although I could still advance to the central square. And then I bring this knight out to here. Now he does this again. So this is without thinking really, quite honestly. This is just really colour by numbers, bringing out those little pawns there at the edges to stop the knights advancing. And I'm ready to castle now with this bishop move. He brings out his knight, and I am not doing the same little moves with the pawns to stop the castling. I instead go straight for a breakthrough move with the bishop, getting it out prior to castling. There's always the light square check risk, but with his knight out on the predictable square, his queen is blocked from giving a check straight away, even if my knight were to move. So we can exchange, and my king is pretty safe there from a check. But what it means is that after he does his random move here, I suppose he's just trying to consolidate a bit more black square power.
Kinside castling.
I can castle, but it's not just a normal castle, it's a castle with an open file for that rook. He continues to push his pawns on the queen's side, and I make this little move, kind of move that doesn't get noticed. Just the queen moving just one square across onto a different colour of square from normal. Onto the opposite colour from the queen, onto the white. The black square onto the white.
Kinside castling.
He gets his castling out of the way now, and I pull my knight back to here. Looks like I'm retreating from his queenside pawn advance, but really, although I am, the other thing I'm doing is getting up onto this square here. And what this does is it covers a very large number of squares in front of the king, with those two knights, both of them together. It's covering h5 and 6, g4 and 5. It's covering e4 and 5, and it's covering d5 and 6. So we'll see what uncovers, unravels, unfolds even. And his other knight comes out, sort of in the footsteps of the other. And now I decide that this is going to have to be a lot of black square control here. He's doing the light square control. I'm going to do the black square control, which means my queen has ended up very much on the correct colour. I've, as it were, replaced the bishop that I exchanged off with a queen. Now this suggests he's going to start moving that c-pawn forward, so I get in advance there ready with it, and when he captures, I must recapture with the b-pawn so that his bishop can't snap up the e-pawn. And although this leaves a solitary pawn on the a-file, he's also stuck with the solitary pawn on the a-file, so it's good for the goose and good for the gander. Now out comes the knight to here, and you see what's happened. He's kind of not even realised I've got a knight where a pawn should be. You see the deception of having that knight on the square where a pawn would normally be. Bang, eaten, gone, that's it. Now, even against a Class A player, a one-piece advantage is massive for me. Tries to just somehow get the knight, and it's not going to happen. His rook's now in the fight. I can bring my queen here, and you can see what's going to happen. You can see already, can't you? I could have done it this move. I didn't quite see that I could have done it this move. First tried to chase the rook. Goes back to there. He could also have gone to the h4 square.
Check.
But this move is white's resignation. He can't capture that knight, and it's a fork with the rook. So after the king moves, this will put him well, a whole rook down. And
check,
after this, he'll lose the queen. So
check,
even then, he would only be able to move to that square.
check,
And then we are still looking at some pretty
check,
horrendous stuff. He has to move. He can only go there. We can threaten the queen. She's got to go somewhere. And then we've
check,
got checks here. Oh, I beg your pardon, the queen can't even go there because she'd get taken then. So she'd have to go here. Then we've got
checkmate,
this, and that is actually checkmate. So he was,
check,
he was in a very bad way. And that is the trick of the unusual squares.